What's up, everyone? This is Christian Duke, and you're watching Strength Addicts TV, powered by Blackstone Labs. Head on over to blackstonelabs.com and use discount code STRENGTH20. Save 20% site-wide on products like Chosen One, Adrenal Care, and my personal favorite, Glycolog. What's up, everyone? This is Christian Duke, StrengthAddicts.com, brought to you courtesy of BlackstoneLabs.com. I am very, very pleased to be doing this interview here with new IFBB Pro, MARCI Glennon. MARCI, how are you today?
I'm good, Christian. How are you?
Oh, fantastic. And, I really appreciate you doing this interview. We had planned a couple different dates this week, and, you're just so accommodating. I just got off work, and so, thank you so much for that. And, I can't even begin to tell you how proud of you I am. I mean, seeing you on the Instagram pages, and you keeping everybody up to date with your journey, I think inspired so many competitors as well. So congratulations on your pro card and for everything that you did along the way.
Thank you. It was fun. It was fun seeing all the changes.
Definitely. And speaking of those changes too, I mean, the original NPC North American was supposed to be much earlier in the year. Right. And it's crazy to me because, nobody could have ever expected the year that we've had with this pandemic and the stay-at-home orders, social distancing, and so many shows being postponed and even ultimately canceled. You've been actually in prep, or you were in prep since January, which is insane to me. Talk to us a little bit about that really, really long journey of yours.
So I started with Loud Performance Training right after Master National last year. I came in 8th out of 15, and I simply wasn't lean enough, and I didn't have the muscularity I think that I needed to have the right look. And so Derek works with my niece and my nephew, and did a great job with them. So I reached out to him, and we've been working together. And then in January, in preparation for July, he said, we're going to do a slow lean down, because he didn't want to deprive me of food, way early. So we just did a very slow lean down, and then July ended up being September. And then in March, I want to say all the gyms shut down. So I continued to be on prep. I continued to follow my plan. And one thing that I did that I think really saved me was, as soon as I knew the gyms were going to be shut down, I went out and I bought a spin bike, and I went out and bought power blocks. And so I got through the 8 weeks of COVID with these power blocks that go from, I think, 10 to 50, in each.
Right.
And the bike was it's a Schwinn Aerodyne $800 bike that I have been on pretty much 5 to 6 days a week since March. So I didn't really lose any momentum all throughout COVID. And then when the gyms opened back up, I was able to go back into the gym. But it was a long time being on prep, and it was a long time for not really having any free meals. Probably for the last, I would say, 14 weeks out, I didn't have any free meals. It was all by plan. So of course, the day of the show, after I won, I gulped down 2 Snickers bars, donuts, hamburger. I mean, my stomach was killing me.
You probably inhaled the Snickers bars, like they were like obliterated.
They were just gone. I was supposed
crazy.
to take a bite before going on stage, but I ate the whole thing.
That is crazy. Now, for those of you that are not in the know, let me clue you in. When MARCI says Derek, she's referring to Derek Natcher, Loud Performance. And I got to tell you, Derek is just an amazing coach. I love the guy. If he was here, I'd hug him. I mean, that's how much I like him. And, I've had friends in the industry, MARCI, that have gone from other coaches. Doesn't need to, say who those coaches were. And some of those coaches actually were not bad coaches. The thing is, sometimes, a client and a coach just are not in sync. I mean, it just is what it is. And then there's also instances where some coaches aren't very good. And they went to Derek, and, it was like, night and day. And I think one of the biggest feathers in his cap, aside from all the knowledge that he has, and he has a lot of knowledge, and he's competed at the highest levels, is the fact that he's so good at communication, and that's so big, with
Yeah.
coaches and clients. If a client contacts a coach, it should be like a quick response. And
He's
that
really good.
seems simple, but a lot of coaches miss that mark.
Every plan that I got had the macros on it. It was very specific, all in grams. There was really no margin for error, and told me what I could and couldn't, put on food as condiments. He had my programming written out in 3-month blocks. So the first month, I'd need to get through that programming, second month, and then I would document everything. And then each week when I checked in, I would tell him exactly what workouts I did, exactly what I ate, what my weigh-ins were. The thing that I like, I like a lot of things about him, but he, with other coaches, and this is my bad, is, if Saturday was the check-in, I would check in. And then Saturday night, I would ultimately eat something really awful, thinking, I've got this week to burn it off. And that's a big no-no. And so what I liked about Derek is Derek does daily check-ins, daily weigh-ins. So I couldn't fool the system. And if my weight all of a sudden bumped up 2 pounds, I didn't even have to tell him that I ate something bad. Obviously it was there. So he really has a way to hold people accountable. We're human, being on prep for 9 months, that's a long time, but he has a way of holding people accountable. The other thing that I really respect about him is, I'm an older competitor. I'm 57 years old. And there have been some coaches that made me drag sleighs down the street with, 545s on it and, doing all this crazy stuff. And Derek, he pushed me in a way that wasn't dangerous to my health. So yes, I did a lot of cardio. I would do 30 to 40, I think it was up to 50 minutes towards the end of cardio to really peel off the fat. But in no way did I ever feel like, I'm dying and I can't walk up the stairs. I was lean, but I never felt unhealthy about it. And then the other thing is he really understood about hormones. And hormones play a lot into how you can lose weight, because I was doing 30 minutes of cardio since March and not losing a pound. And so he had to do some food manipulation to really get in carb rotation, to really get my weight to do something. So he had experience with older competitors, and he pushed me in a way that was healthy. And then I never thought, gee, this is feeling dangerous. And you have to be careful because, we're older and things don't work the way they work when you're younger.
I think though, you said so much. I have one quick question, and I'm going to ask you about what you just said. Now, when you would document your meals and your training, how would you do that? Like on an app or like pencil and paper?
On the training, I kept it, we have it in Excel, and I just open it up on my phone and I mark off what I do as I'm doing it. I was writing in a book, but then I just thought it's just too painful to put that program into a book. So I just started doing it with Excel. And then as far as the meal plan, I would print out a page, if it was a low day, I'd print out the week's, 3 low days and a high day. And then I would check off each meal, that I did. And I have to tell you, even though COVID was really a horrible thing, and I wouldn't wish us going through that again, it made the whole documentation part much easier because I didn't have the flux of going and meeting with a customer and then going out to lunch. It was everything. I was in a controlled environment. So COVID made it easier for me.
Interesting. And crazy as it may seem, we're still not really through it because it's still, wreaking havoc. But, also what you had said too, Marcy, that I thought was very interesting. And again, we'll probably go longer than what we had initially planned, but there's so much knowledge here. And I think ultimately as a new pro on your journey and this insanely challenging, if you can call it that, others would call it, horrendous year that we've all endured. There's so much knowledge that I feel like competitors can get from an interview like this. And I feel like the pros really can impart a lot of knowledge on, true novices and national level competitors. But it's crazy to me that coaches would have you pulling a sled with 45-pound plates on each side. It almost makes me feel like maybe they would have you do that to make you, the client, feel like, wow, this coach is like really unorthodox. This coach knows something that others don't. And when in reality, they're actually potentially putting your health and well-being in danger just so they have something to sell.
Yeah, it was the sled pulling. It was about 5 years ago, really, when I started. I was probably 6 months into lifting heavy, and I did a show only 6 or 7 months after I first started lifting 5 years ago. Like I had lifted, and competed when I was younger, and then I took off 30 years, and then I came back and started lifting. And this one particular coach had us out it was in the dirt. I'll never forget it. It was like a 98-degree day here in Houston in the dirt, and he had a sled and he had 45 plates on it, and he tied a thing around our waist and it had a rope, and we pulled that sled.
What does that have to do with competing? I don't know.
I have no idea. I was just like, wow, is this what it takes? This is hard.
That's crazy.
But
now,
it's, everybody has their methods, and maybe that works for a young girl. I don't know, but as a 57-year-old, I'll be 58 in February. I am not pulling any sled ever again.
I don't know who that works for, except maybe a strength athlete, a power lifter, a strong man or woman. I don't know, but for a physique-based sport, I can't see how that would help anybody except maybe potentially get you injured, which that makes no sense. But you had mentioned Houston, so just to give folks that don't know a little bit of background. So you're actually from Maryland. You're a Maryland transplant to Houston, and you competed for the first time when you were just 18 years old while at USF. And some guys, you even mentioned knowing Rich Siegelman way back then. Not way back then, but still, way back then,
It was way back.
That's awesome. And look at you, you look amazing. I mean, age is just a number for the women. I hate to be sexist, but for the guys, after 40, 50, I don't care how jacked you are, muscular, you can tell, like the body, you can tell. But women, I mean, I've seen women that are 70 and I have to ask them for their driver's license because I don't believe it. And they look like they're 40. It's just something about muscle. And that's a whole other topic. But you all look, you get the fountain of youth with muscle. Guys look good too, but not like women. Women just like age beautifully with muscle and actually counteract the age clock. But yeah, you competed for the first time at 18. And, you're a Maryland girl living in Texas. That's got to be some culture shock, I would think.
It's been a culture shock for sure. I think I mentioned this earlier. I competed in the Miss University of South Florida. It was a collegiate show, and it was 1980 something. And I remember I was working out at this little gym, and the gym that I worked out at had Ravishing Rick Rude. I think Hulk Hogan had worked out there quite a bit. There was a bunch of wrestlers.
Oh, yeah.
There were bodybuilders. I don't know, Rick Poston, Debbie Poston. I don't know if those names, mean anything.
I've heard those names. And in fact, just to interject real quick, which is a nice way of saying interrupt. But, Rick Drazen, who we just recently lost out in California, Arnold's original training partner, he is a great example of what you're talking about because he was involved in the golden era of bodybuilding as a wrestler. The wrestlers have, like The Rock, John Cena, they have a huge fascination with bodybuilding, and they're actually quite active in the bodybuilding scene. So there's quite a bit of overlap between wrestling and bodybuilding. But yeah.
So this gym, anyway, had all these bodybuilders, and I just decided, I'm going to go into the show. It's the first show that the college had put on, and I had no idea what I was doing. All I remember is I lived in a dorm, and I would eat chicken, grapes, and broccoli for like 6 weeks. Wow. And I was all of 98 pounds when I stepped on that stage. And just, you have to, and I think what really drove me was I was just so determined. I mean, there were so many obstacles against me. I didn't have anywhere to cook. I didn't have a refrigerator. I had to get like a little cooler and keep, going to the store and getting prepared chicken. But it was just the determination of, getting into that bodybuilding show. And I won this big trophy. I got second place. I won this big trophy, and then I took off 30 years. And then I came back at age 52.
Well, I think that there's something to be said about you and obstacles. I think you enjoy them because you're the only person that I know that has actually found some positivity about COVID, how it helped you record keep. I've heard nobody say, so I think that you do well with obstacles. I think that obstacles are almost good for you because you overcome them really well, and that's a heck of a great, and there's another obstacle that we're going to talk about here in a little bit about the show, not a major obstacle, but it could have been a major obstacle, which was the number badge, right? That could have easily, tell us a little bit about that. Tell us a little bit about competing at North American. Because again, this is a show, I mean, we're talking about obstacles, overcame so many of them. It happened. It's a show you turned pro at in the 55 plus A category, which was very, very competitive. You know, and you know, that's Gary's show. And, you know, Gary was going to do whatever it took to make sure that show happened. And it was a huge success. But within that, tell us about some of the highlights and some of the, you know, like the badge thing, like, you know.
Well, there were some things that, you know, I was just excited that the show was going on because I'd been on prep for so long. You know, I was in prep since January. So when I made my hotel reservations, they said, well, we have a shortage of refrigerators. You might not have a refrigerator in a room. And then I started thinking, well, I guess I could order food, or no, I'm going to make my food. And then I talked with Derek. Derek said, you will not order your food. You will bring your food and you'll just use ice bags. Okay. So we got over that hurdle. And luckily my room had a fridge in it. So all was good. The dog was packed. The clothes were packed. The suit was packed. Shoes were packed. So I was all ready to go. They called us. The pros were on at 8, and they called us around 7:45 and said, we need you guys gathering in the ballroom. And meanwhile, I had just gotten back from, I think, walking the dog, and I was putting my earrings on. I hadn't even had my bathing suit on. So I put my suit on and went down to the ballroom at about 8:30. And then we all met in we took a little shuttle over to the tent, which was, you know, a 2-minute ride. And all of the 55 ladies, because that's, you know, they called us, they had us, we were in like one section, and we were kind of, you know, pumping up and talking and taking pictures and documenting, and I was doing videos. And then I think I got smudged. My suit got smudged, or my tan got smudged. So I went in line to get the tan fixed and the glossing on, and I turned around and all the 55s were gone. I'm like, where'd everybody go? So I went over to the woman who was standing by the stage, and she had a clipboard, and I said, hi, I'm supposed to be with the 55s in the A class. She goes, oh, they've already been on. I said, what? And she said, they've already been on. I said, well, you didn't call my number. I'm 353. And she goes, well, you're not on here. I was like, I paid for it. I'm part of this. And so she goes, well, you didn't need to talk to this guy. So I talked to the fellow who was, I guess he was ushering people up on the stage. And I said, I'm supposed to be in the 55A class, and my name isn't on your list. So he said, what's your badge number? I said, 353. And he goes, well, what's your name? I said, MARCI GLENNON. He goes, oh, well, I have you as badge 276. I said, but I'm 353. And he goes, don't worry about it. He goes, you'll get on stage. He goes, you're not going to do your individual, but you will go on the comparison. And he just lined me up. And then, you know, I went on stage for the front and back comparison. So the judges saw me all of, whatever, 10 seconds. And then we, you know, kind of got off stage. But and then I competed also in the 50s, and I was second call out in the 50s, and I got to do my individual routine. So when we actually went back up on stage for awards, I think I was in shock that, you know, because they said in 4th place is A, and in 3rd place it's this person, you know, in 2nd place it's this person, and I'm standing there on the line going, I didn't get anything. And then the guy pointed, you know, he like ushered me over to the trophy, and I was like, you know, I was like,
that's awesome.
So it was, you know, the people behind stage were so nice, and I didn't have a meltdown. I just thought, you know, what are you gonna do? You know, it was probably me trying to get my smudge off my tan, and I didn't hear it. I don't know.
Right. No, I was laughing because you're standing on stage thinking that they forgot about you, and you won the show. You know, you won your class, and you were thinking they forgot about you. But, you know, as I told you off camera, you know, I feel that was a pro move, although you weren't a pro yet. And obviously a seasoned competitor, yes, but, you know, you could have lost your head. You could have, and if you would have lost your head, you know, as they, you know, widely known, your cortisol levels would have been through the roof, your nerves would have been through the roof. Those 10 seconds the judges did see you probably would not have been, you would not have executed the posing the way that you should have, the way that you did. It could have gone south. 10 months, 9 months could have gone south like that. Well, you know what I mean? But they didn't. And so that's really important. And I think that's a learning lesson. It could happen at any show, you know, anytime that could happen, you know, accidents, you know, life happens. I think it's a good learning lesson for your true novices and even your national level competitors. You know, the expediters, this is what they do. The backstage people, this is what they do. And like they told you, you just go up there, you know, do what you got to do. Everything's going to be great, and everything was. I
Yeah,
think
and
it's a real learning experience.
I think I think no matter what, I mean, there are some people that get wigged out on the small things. Whether it's pulling into a parking spot and somebody's parked too close to them, or whatever the case may be. And I try not to sweat things like that, because there are so many bigger things that you can get upset over. And so that, I just thought, this is the way it is, and this is the way it's supposed to be, and the judges will see me, and they'll make their decisions. But in the back of my mind too, I was like, okay, if this got screwed up, I'll go to Masters Nationals in Orlando. So I had a backup plan. But I think in any situation, whether it's in bodybuilding or in life, you just got to take things as they come, because nothing is perfect. Nothing.
Yeah, and again, that's even more proof positive, even more of a reiteration that you really your mindset was out of a pro, and I don't even want to make this like about pros, amateurs, because a lot of pros also could have wigged out, could have lost their cool, whatever. I just think that it's a very like big leagues, big picture kind of way to look at things. And also, what I like about it too is that you're resigned to certain things you cannot control. I mean, if you can't control it, I mean, you address it, you tackle it, you resolve it. But there's what are you going to gain by just like going frantic and hysterical? Nothing, and it's only going to hurt you. So I think that's a great learning lesson for a lot of people, and again, that's why also backstage I've noticed, Marcy, that some competitors have headphones in their ears and they're actually not listening to anything. But I think it's because they don't want – it's not that they don't want to interact, and I don't know if you can relate to any of this, but there are people backstage as you're waiting to take the stage whose nerves are so out of control that it almost bleeds over to other people. So I've noticed some people, they even told me they're actually not listening to anything, but they just want to – they don't want to – you know what I mean? Like it's almost like they're removing themselves from a situation where nerves could actually come into play with them.
I rounded up the troops. I rounded up all the ladies and said, hey, let's get a group shot. And so we all got a group shot, and I think it calmed everybody down, because it's, we took this group shot, and then we got each other's names. We posted on Instagram and, wished each other luck. I mean, to me, that's how you kind of calm things down, because there's nothing worse when, everybody's nervous and fidgety and not talking to each other. It's just so much better. And, a lot of these people that I met that day, we're still keeping in touch on Instagram, and, I want to see them turn pro when their time comes.
That is so cool too. And, there are competitors that I really look up to a lot who say something to the effect of, let the judges do their job kind of thing. And I think what that means, and it ties into what you're saying, because there's some competitors that go to a show and they're very adversarial and they would not do what you did about taking a group shot or wishing other competitors well. There's not many of them, but they're there, and there are enough of them that, and it's not that they're negative. It's just that their mindset is wrong, I think, because, all you can do is bring your best, present your best. The judges, it's their job to pick, who wins. But backstage, you can be, like you said, you can be friendly. You could take a group shot. And I actually like your approach more than the people that put the headphones that aren't listening to anything, because they're removing themselves, whereas you actually took a proactive role to make the ladies who were nervous feel better and more relaxed and more comfortable. And you made a great memory there. But that one picture, every lady in that picture can look back at that, a few months, a year, 10 years down the road, I was there, I did that. Like you guys are part of a very, very select group of people that made it to that level, but then also share that memory. And that's awesome that you did that. That's really, really cool. I love that.
Yeah. It was good. It was really good. So as I told you, I was, I was shocked when the guy on stage, said, go over to the trophy. Right. But the first thing that I thought about,
and that's what I wanted to ask you, what did you think about when you?
First thing I thought about was, I want to be the best 55 out there. That's what I thought. Meanwhile, I got beat. The woman in the 55B class, she won overall. But in my mind, I'm like, I'm going to be the best 55 there is. And so I called Derek right after I stepped off stage. And this is how I am. I mean, this is how I'm programmed. I'm the same way at work. And I said, I won. I told him, what happened. And we need to get, I need more muscle. I need this, I need that. I need to grow my back, blah, blah, blah. And he's like, okay.
I'm only laughing because you haven't even got your pro card in the mail yet. I mean, you won it, but the ink's it hasn't even been signed yet. And here you are wanting to, up the game. And you didn't get beat.
It's crazy. It's crazy. I was never I wasn't as competitive, I guess, as in my younger years. But now that I'm older and I think I'm more confident in really everything, that I now have this competitive spirit. So, and like I said, I've been looking at the pros that are 55, and I definitely have work to do.
Well, and everybody always has work to do because nobody's perfect. Not even like the Olympians are perfect. They're close, but they're not perfect. So there's, whether you decide to compete in Masters or Open, there's a lot of Masters Pro shows. In fact, the North American has one, which is the Pittsburgh Pro Masters, and they're very, very competitive shows. And I really think that you'd be in the mix. It's a process, but you'd be in the mix. But I think that the fact you're competitive is great, Marcy, because you're competitive, but at the same time, you're taking a group picture backstage and you're making people that are nervous and that maybe don't have that self-confidence that you have feel better about themselves. So I think the fact you're competitive is awesome. I think, the more so, the better, because you're the right kind of competitive, if that makes sense.
Yeah. And the other thing that I want to improve upon is my posing. My lower back is not as flexible as a lot of people. So when I pose, it almost looks like I'm standing straight up, but I'm really not. I'm bent as far as I can go. So I need to get some more flexibility in my lower back, and I'm gonna do some yoga and then some deep, massage. But I need to get my posing straight, and I think part of it is just the flexibility. And part of it is, you're getting older, you're not as, limber as what you once were. But I want to, for my pro debut, I want my posing to be spot on. So,
and I got to tell you about posing.
Another area of improvement.
Definitely. And I got to tell you, posing, there's some greats out there. Some really, really greats out there. Kenny Wallach is amazing. There's a guy in Florida named Cheech who actually works with Peter Scialla, who's amazing. In my opinion, though, the best is Gary. Gary is the best. And
okay.
Yeah, so if you can get to one of his posing clinics, I don't know if Gary does any in Texas, but if you can get to one of his posing clinics, it is so worth it. Even if he moves your arm by like 1/10 of an inch, that 1/10 of an inch move could essentially bump you up a placing or two, because that, especially with bikini, because your stage time is so short, your poses are very few. And there are few for a reason, because the poses that are there are perfect for the division, but you just got to nail them, and even that walk, the walk from the back of the stage to the front of the stage, every step in that walk, is just, I mean, I have often said, Marcy, that as far as I'm concerned, bikini and men's physique are the toughest, in the regard that the stage time is so little, and you just got to nail it. And we're talking like fractions of a second. The bodybuilders have 8 mandatory poses. You guys, you have so much less time.
Right.
But if your posing is on point and your physique is on point, nobody's going to stop you.
Right. There are certain poses that I can do. Some poses, the contortion pose, I can't do. My body does not work that way. But I would love, if somebody had a week-long posing boot camp, man, I would be the first one there. But I'll reach out to Gary.
Definitely, you definitely should. And listen,
I definitely got some help with my posing, and she's wonderful. But you can always learn from other people and learn new things, and learn to, like you said, move your foot a little bit or move your arm a bit.
Oh yeah, and if you have a posing coach, that's fantastic. And why that's perfect to go to Gary at some point is because what Gary offers, from what I understand, from what I've worked with him in the past, are seminars. And you're not going to learn all your posing, in a 1-hour seminar. So that's why I think it's great to have your own posing coach. But if you can get out to a seminar, you might get like that 1/10 of an inch, adjustment that will complement everything you've done with your posing coach. And then, together, I mean, you're gonna knock it out of the park at the competition. So
good. That's what we want to do.
there you go. There you go. So I really want to thank you. And I want to apologize for lying to you about this being a 10-minute interview, because
no worries. It was fun.
This is too great to be a 10-minute interview. We had to talk more than 10 minutes, but we got the Instagram live that we did before this, so that'll hold the folks over for Friday afternoon when this comes out, and we'll have a nice graphic made for you. And I can't tell you how proud I am of you.
Thank you,
and Derek. Not surprised though, because Derek is awesome and you're awesome. And I'm very excited to see what Marci Glennon looks like in the 2021 year.
I will,
and of course for your pro debut, because you only get one of those.
I will continue to tag you.
Please, please tag StrengthAddicts TV. That'd be awesome. Love that.
That sounds great.
Awesome. Well, I would like to thank you. And finally, the most important question of all, Marci, is who would you like to thank? Who would you like to thank for where you are today, new IFBB Pro, to close out the interview?
I'd like to thank my coach, Derek Natcher, Loud Performance Training. He is just a phenomenal coach. And also like to thank Miss Angelica, who I've seen several times at various events, and she's always so nice and so sweet and such a great role model. Obviously she's the only Olympian a bikini Olympian that I've met, and so I really look up to her. But she posts some really good content, and I follow her, and so I want to thank her as well. And then Kimberly Shepard, who coached me on posing, and Sheila Brown, Flexi Brown, who also coached me on posing, and actually Jeffrey Dwell has coached me on posing. So I've had a lot of posing help.
That's awesome.
But there's a ton of people that have influenced bodybuilding for me and have, encouraged me, and all those folks, I'm so grateful, for their words of encouragement. So.
Awesome. Awesome.
And thank you very much for interviewing me. I appreciate it.
Of course. I loved it. Thank you so much. And thank you for tagging StrengthAddicts and StrengthAddicts TV. And I really appreciate it. Of course, also appreciate Blackstone Labs for all the support of my coverage, and PJ Brown for believing in me, which is really important to have, someone believe in you, like, for what you do, because I really love what I do. And I love getting to talk to competitors such as yourself. And again, I cannot commend you enough for that picture you took of the ladies with yourself backstage, because I guarantee you spared a lot of ladies that were probably petrified of getting on that stage, and you made it just so much more fun, because that's what it should be, is fun. So kudos to you. So thank you once again for new IFBB Pro, Marci Glennon. This is Christian Duke, StrengthAddicts.com.
Thank you.